One of the things that interests me about dreams is if there's a difference in how they affect various types of people. For instance, in an earlier show, I spoke with a historian who studied the dreams of Civil War soldiers and their families. Today, we're going to explore the dreams of another specific group of people, women in prison. My guest, dream worker Carol Oschmann, took a look at their dreams and wrote about them in the award-winning book, Prison Dreams. And she's here to talk about it now. Welcome to the Dream Power Show, Carol.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, it is my pleasure. Well, Carol, what got you interested in studying the dreams of incarcerated women?
Our senior citizen community in Florida was, maybe 3-4 miles from a women's prison. And a lot of the ladies in my circle were going in and teaching classes on cooking or drawing or parenting or how to do a checkbook, all kinds of things, religion, of course. And I picked up the phone one day and called the chaplain and said, do you think they'd be interested in dreams? And she said, absolutely. I was in within 2 weeks.
So how many women did you speak to?
Overall, well, I tried to limit it to 15, and there were 5 compounds, and she was going to choose 3 from each. But that first night there was over 20.
Mm.
But-
Yeah, I'm going to say, did they volunteer, or were they just selected? Were they people who knew in advance, or that you knew, who were already dreamers or remembered their dreams?
I did not know any of them, and a lot of them were just had an interest, had dreams, and wanted to know what it was about. Some were sent by the guards because they would scream all night and keep everybody awake, made everybody's life miserable.
Mm. So when you met with them and talked with them about their dreams, did you interpret them for them, or did they figure it out themselves? How did that work?
We had a blackboard, and I showed them how to do it themselves. We'd put as much of the dream as I could capture on the blackboard, and then I'd show them how to circle the nouns and the action and take it off to the side and do free thinking, and something would click.
And did you talk to each one of them about their dreams?
Many of them. There were so many I couldn't remember. The one that stood out in my mind was this lady who was going to be released probably the next week. And she had this dream where she went into a morgue and had to identify her boyfriend's dead body. And she went in, and there's this body on the drawer, and his mother was standing in the corner going crazy, as you imagine you might be in that situation. And she pulled back the sheet. Yep, that's him. She covered him back up. No emotion, she said. She started to leave, and she was drawn to another drawer. She pulls it out, and there's a baby. And this baby was sitting up and clapping and playing and having a grand old time. She left the room, and then she got puzzling over it, and she went back in, and there sits her supposedly dead boyfriend sitting up playing with the baby. And she said to me, now don't tell me I'm going back and have a baby with that so-and-so. She said, no way. And so, well, we have to look at the different words in there. The baby is a new life. The dead boyfriend, he's part of you, and he's a part of you that's long been dead. I said, this old lady thinks of the male energy as someone who's going to put the bread on my table and the roof over my head. I said, pardon me, you might think of it another way. I said, but this baby is a new life, and it's not really a new life because he's sitting up and playing. So I think it's a talent you have, or something you're supposed to be doing that you know about, but you haven't pursued. And all the ladies in the room yelled out, "Your music." It seems she'd been entertaining them there at, in the prison. And that not, we talked about what she could do with her music. I said, even no matter what job you have, find a way to use your music. Go to a church, sing in a choir. You can sing at weddings. There must be some way you can use your music. You open a door for God to step in and give you more. The chaplain called me later that week, and she said many lives were changed that night. The power of the dream.
So tell me who else was affected in that first night?
Well, I can't tell you that first night. There were just so many. But mind you, I've met with them for 3 years, and they were supposed to be 16-week classes, and then I'd get a new group. So I talked to a lot of women.
Any common themes that ran among their dreams?
Surprisingly, no. But talking about changing your life, I had one young lady, she had to have been in her early 20s, and she was so pretty and little and dainty. And she said she had a dream that she was flying over a sea of snakes, and they were yellow and brown. And I said, well, off the top of my head, yellow to me is joy. And there again, the women all knew her, and they shouted out, her name is Joy. And she come back a couple weeks later where she had I told her that the snakes, I felt a little bit on shaky ground here, but I had to tell it like I saw it. I said, the snakes are what you think of this prison population, and you are among them. The yellow Joy is mixed up with the other snakes. And they all shouted out, yeah, you got that one right. But when I taught them to put it on, how to interpret by putting it on the board and writing it, they got to be very vocal. They come up with a lot of good ideas themselves, possibilities of what it might mean. And as you know, the dreamer is the only one who knows the truth. Mm-hmm. You can't tell anyone what their dream means. It has to go, aha, inside them. And a few weeks later, she had a dream of going up in a big old house to the attic, and there were a chest of drawers, and she just looked at it and she turned around and left. Well, I told her that try to go back. I told her how to go back into that dream and go to that chest of drawers and open up one of the drawers, because there's opportunities for you there. So the next week she come back, she was able to do it. And what she found in that chest of drawers were prison pants, not the tops, just the bottoms. They were blue with a white stripe down the side, and they were very beautiful material. They were velvety. And so I told her I thought something good was going to come out of this prison experience because of it being the nice material. And the next week, she said, I know what that dream meant. She said that the prison guards came to her during that week. The person who was in charge of the wastewater facility, the inmate, had been released, and they asked her if she would do it. And she had the right to say no. She thought about it, and she thought, getting her the wastewater, the toilet water, and all that, it wasn't for her. But because she'd opened those drawers and discovered something beautiful inside the prison life, she said yes, she would do it. Well, the other women were just so thrilled for her. They started yelling out things like a job on the outside, benefits. You don't have to rely on a man to provide your living. And that was very, very encouraging for both her and I that she saw that.
So they're actually life-changing results as a result of them paying attention to their dreams.
Oh, yes, yes. One lady had an addiction problem, evidently. I wasn't allowed to ask them anything about their personal lives, but it would come out. She dreamt that she was sitting in a chair with a table in front of her, as it had a big emerald green ashtray in front of her, and it was full of roaches. What are roaches? She said they're marijuana butts. And she was picking them out of the ashtray and putting them into a brown paper bag. And walking up to her is this man she knew, who she hated. He was the bully of the neighborhood. Nobody liked him. And she said he wanted he wanted all the marijuana butts. So she gave them to him. And last she saw was the back of him walking away from her and this bag of butts in his hand. Well, that one was kind of easy for me. I said, everything in your dream is you. The drugs are you. This man you hate is part of you that you hate. And he's walking away. He's taking what makes you unhappy with yourself. He's taking that and he's walking away. To me, that's saying your drug addiction is over. You don't have to go back there anymore.
And were you able to find out if she was able to get rid of her addiction?
Oh yeah, she went on. Some of them kept coming back, even though they weren't scheduled to come back in later classes, and she was one of them. And next dream she brought in, she was had taken some friends to the beach, and they were like knee high in water, and she noticed a shark swimming nearby, and she wanted to warn them, and she swishes the water and scares the shark, and the shark stands up on his tail fins and just, goes back and forth and stands up there. Well, she said to the shark, he was toothless, he was wrinkled, he was old, and she saw he was harmless. And he said to her, well, why don't you come home with me? My wife would like to meet you. I found out later she was gay. So they all knew that. And that was pretty funny that the shark's wife wanted to meet her. So I was trying to analyze it, and I told her, you must think of yourself somewhat as a shark. Do you bully people? And she admitted she did. She was one who, if they're standing in line waiting to go somewhere and they're supposed to be absolutely quiet, she'd bark in the ear of the one in front of her and made a lot of enemies. But she was always pulling pranks like that. She was a joker at the same time. But that's how she saw herself at that point, was old and wrinkled and no longer shark material. Toothless. She'd lost her power. About a year later, she met me at the gate as I was coming in. She was so excited because she'd had a dream where she was walking the beach and she was picking up shark's teeth. So in other words, she was getting her power back.
How can people find out more about you and your work?
I have a website. It's caroloschmann.com, and my books are all there, including Prison Dreams.
We've been speaking about the dreams of women in prison with Carol Oschmann.